Scheffler with a record-setting performance to win the CJ Cup.
Well, it's been another busy month in professional golf, and I am once again joined by our lead stats guy, Lou Stagner, who also happens to be the assistant coach for the Princeton men's golf team. Lou, there's a lot to break down this month. How's it going?
It's going well, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. Not as great as Scotty Scheffler, but I'm doing all right. I don't think anyone's golf game is going to touch his at the moment. Let's get right into his first win of the month at the CJ Cup, because he did a lot right down in Texas.
He sure did. So he gained 23.1 strokes against the field. This is the third largest in any PGA Tour event since 2003, so over 20 years. He won wire to wire by 8 shots. Unbelievable performance. We could talk all day about all the stats he racked up in that one.
And a lot of it came down to his approach play. I mean, everyone knows that Scotty's a great iron player, but I mean, again, his approach play absolutely excelled.
It did. So more than half of his strokes gained came from his approach play, 55%. He's only the 12th player since 2003 to win a 72-hole event by 8 or more shots. He was ranked first in par 3 scoring, par 4 scoring, and par 5 scoring. He paired his second best approach play performance of his career with his 4th best putting performance of his career. Nobody else stood a chance.
Yeah, I was gonna say usually a player excels at like one thing really good for a tournament, and then like everything else kind of is average. But to do it over multiple categories is extremely impressive. And not only that, when we think about front 9 versus back 9, his front 9 was incredible around that golf course.
He played it in a blistering 22 under par. This is the lowest 9-hole score to par in a 72-hole event since 1983, which is when we started recording detailed stats.
Now, speaking of detailed stats, one more thing that I know really stood out was his par 5 scoring. I mean, you're going to gain a lot of shots on par 5s for most players who are going to win, but he did something that once again goes back to kind of before stats were even covered.
Yeah, this is going to blow your mind. He averaged 3.83 on the par 5s that week. It's the lowest par 5 scoring average for an event since 1983. Absolutely incredible. I would take that on par 4s. I think most of us would take that on par 3s for most courses we play.
Lou, I would 100% take that on par 3s every single day, knowing that they are a hole that I tend to struggle with. But Scotty certainly did not struggle around that golf course, TPC Craig Ranch that week. Scotty Scheffler was not the only winner this month. Ryan Fox, at 38 years, 3 months, and 19 days, was the oldest first-time winner on the PGA Tour since 2019.
Yeah, it was great to see him get his first win. I know a lot of people enjoyed watching that. He played the par 5s at 11 under, which is fantastic, gaining just over 6 shots on the field on that, more than any other player. Led the field there. When every long hole is a 2-shot swing, you can afford par golf everywhere else.
And he's known as a very solid ball striker, but that week in Myrtle Beach, his approach play was excellent.
Yeah, he averaged 27 feet 1 inch in proximity, best in the field, led that category. And this is astounding. He turned 40% of his approaches from the rough into birdie or better, which is also number 1 in the field. That's incredible. 40% birdie rate from the rough. That's just doesn't happen.
And speaking of the rough, he did win in a playoff by chipping in at the rough, and that's an easy way to kind of ice your partners out if you're trying to go for your first win on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Elite distance control, creativity, that combo forced the playoff and ultimately the trophy.
Now, someone who made a ton of putts when we think of the old drive for show, putt for dough, and that is Seph Straka at the Truist Championship in Philadelphia.
He did. He drained 406 feet and 4 inches of putts, including 13 putts over 10 feet, with 5 of them over 20 feet. I'd take 406 feet worth of putts in a single season, much less one event.
I love that. I would, I can't. That's a hard stat that I don't measure, and I feel like my playing partners would actually get pretty annoyed if I start measuring off all my putts just to keep track of it. But when we talk about that length of putt, I mean, that is pretty unheard of to break the 400 barrier, right?
Doesn't happen very often. You're making a lot of putts from long way out when you're making that many feet of putts. He gained nearly 9 shots putting, 8.66 with his putting, which is the best in his career by nearly 2 shots. So he really had the flat stick working.
Now, I know it's a name that's generally reserved for baseball, but I think we should start having a stats category like Mr. 400. So every time a player cracks that 400-foot putt mark barrier, where they get a little plaque, they get called Mr. 400. That'd be a pretty fun way to mark those occasions. But it wasn't just the putting, because a lot of it came down to his ball striking, and that came on par 3s.
Yeah, great performance on par 3s. He was 4 under on the par 3s, averaged 2.75, which is fantastic. Anytime you can average around par or just under par is great, but when you can get down to 2.75 on the par 3s for the week, you're going to gain some shots on the field.
Now, we know we kicked it off with Scotty Scheffler. Now, let's talk about his win at the PGA Championship. This marked his 15th career win and 3rd major. All of this before the age of 29. He actually put himself on a very short list by being one of the only players to have ever done this, joining Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods in the modern era. It's a pretty good list to be on, isn't it?
That's anytime you're compared to those players, it's a list that anyone would want to be on. So he played fantastic. It was his 4th victory by 5 or more shots. When Scotty gets it going and he's playing well, he's tough to play against, and he's going to pull away from the field. This feat of winning by 5 or more shots has only been matched in the last 30 years by Tiger, DJ, and Rory as many times as Scotty has done it.
That's insane. Now, when most people think about Scotty, they think about ball striking, but it wasn't just his ball striking that really excelled around Quail Hollow, was it?
But he doesn't get enough credit for his short game. This was the 14th time he was ranked in the top 5 in strokes gained around the green at an event. This is the 4th most of any player on tour since 2020. When you can combine his ball striking with that short game, that's a pretty incredible combination.
And this just goes to show that Scotty Scheffler has more than one way to win a golf tournament. Thanks again, Lou. Thanks for talking the stats, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Ryan.